My name is Tim Sullivan. I'm president of the College of William & Mary. My wife Ann and I are very pleased and honored to welcome you to Williamsburg and to our college. The ITA Hall of Fame induction is always a very special evening for us at William & Mary. We take immense pride in having founded the Women's Intercollegiate Tennis Hall of Fame. It was a bold, a pioneering step, but I think it was long overdue. And the growth and development of the Hall of Fame since its inception in 1995 has been remarkable. From the beginning, our objective has been to identify and to honor those who have not only been elite players, but who have been instrumental in molding women's intercollegiate tennis. This is our 6th induction ceremony, celebrating the accomplishments of 4 very special collegiate players, and it's another milestone in our march toward achieving the goal of making the Women's Tennis Hall of Fame a truly significant national monument to the best about intercollegiate sport. We now turn to the reason we're all here, which is the induction ceremony. I can think of no one who would be more appropriate to perform this very happy task than our good friend and charter inductee, Betsy Nagelson McCormick. Hold on. Betsy has been one of the most appealing figures in professional tennis. Her vitality, enthusiasm, and smile belie a powerful serve and volley game that made her one of the world's best singles and doubles players. Betsy's greatest joy has been her daughter, Maggie. Maggie is her first priority, but she always finds time to serve as a dedicated volunteer for numerous charitable foundations in the Orlando and Tampa Bay, Florida areas. In recognition of her dedicated service, Betsy has been inducted into the Tampa Walk of Fame. In February 1996, she was honored with the very prestigious Thurman Munson Award, presented to her by the Association for the Help of Retarded Children in recognition of her athletic achievement and her humanitarian concern. Betsy, would you please come forward and do your duty? Thank you.
It's a real honor for me to be able to be involved in this and get to see so many of my friends, and tennis has been such an important part of my life that I think I can say that I'm probably more aware and appreciative of the accomplishments of the distinguished honorees here tonight. So it's my great pleasure to be able to do the introductions. This year's inductees, Julie Anthony from Stanford, and Emily Burr Foster from Trinity, and Janie Albert Willens from Stanford again, and Patricia Henry Yeomans from Occidental College, have had exceptional careers. They transcend the role of great players and contributors, for they have been willing to pioneer for all women in sports. During their careers, they have sparked remarkable changes in women's tennis, from the grassroots to the professional level. And they have cleared barriers for others to follow more easily. They have played and advanced tennis for the love of the game. But along the way, they set a standard of excellence that has paved the way for today's great collegiate and professional programs. Before we begin the inductions, I would like to describe some of the items donated to the Hall of Fame by the inductees that are here this evening. Each year, the collection of trophies and memorabilia displayed in the Hall of Fame has been richly enhanced by donations from the inductees and from friends. This year, we received a very significant item from the International Tennis Hall of Fame that ties directly into this year's induction. It is the original intercollegiate doubles championship perpetual trophy that was awarded from 1958 to 1978. When it was retired in 1978, the tray was passed on to the International Hall of Fame. It is very timely to have received the beautiful silver tray this year because it was donated to the USTA for this purpose by Patricia Henry Yeomans. Her daughter, Linda Yeomans, who is in attendance here tonight, won the trophy with Carol Hanks in 1962. Julie Anthony and Janie Albert Willens won the trophy in 1967, and Emily Burrow Foster won it in 1968 and 1969. Thank you, Pat, for donating the trophy to the USTA in 1958, and we are delighted that it has now found a fitting home in the Hall of Fame. Pat is also donating the silver candy dish presented to her by Hazel Whiteman in 1935 when she won the U.S. Girls 18 Championships. And Janie Willens has donated a miniature replica of the Whiteman Cup, which was presented to her as a member of the 1966 Whiteman Cup team. And Julie Anthony has donated 15 medals that she won as a top junior from 1958 to 1972. She also donated her Ted Tinling tennis dress that was the team tennis uniform when she played for the New York Apples, which I remember. The USTA gold ball that she won in 1967 when she and Janie won the Collegiate doubles championship is yet another contribution from Julie. Her book, A Winning Combination, written with Nick Bollettieri, has also become a permanent addition to our collection. Thanks to each of you for making these unusual and valuable contributions. I might also add that due to these new items and others received throughout the year, the Hall of Fame has been totally reorganized, which Millie talked about earlier today at lunch. And please, if you haven't, please take the time to go and have a look. It's absolutely spectacular. Julie's induction is very special to me personally. Not only did our playing careers overlap, but we also played doubles together on several occasions. The one I remember the most was when we played together at the Italian Open, which we reminisced earlier today. And I had forgotten some of the details about how injured we were and praying that no one would make us run. But Julie had a very big impact on me as a young player, and it's very special for me to be here tonight inducting Julie into the Collegiate Hall of Fame. We were young and we had fun, and to make this occasion even more perfect, Julie and her very good friend are being inducted together.
An athlete and a scholar, Dr. Julie Anthony earned a PhD while competing on the women's pro circuit. Anthony took up the game as an 8-year-old in Santa Monica. Tennis became a passion, and she soon was a junior champion in Southern California. As a sophomore at Stanford in 1967, Anthony and teammate Janie Albert won the National Collegiate Doubles crown. In the 1970s, armed with a master's in psychology from UCLA, Anthony charged onto the Pro Tour. Psyching out their opponents, she and Billie Jean King were the #1 doubles team in world team tennis, playing for the Philadelphia Freedoms in 1974. Anthony continued to combine work in the classroom with play on the courts and received her doctorate in clinical psychology in 1979. The next year, she teamed with famed coach Nick Bollettieri to write a book for young tennis players and their parents. The result was A Winning Combination, offering lessons about life on and off the court. Throughout the 80s, Anthony worked as a sports psychologist, including a stint with the Philadelphia Flyers hockey team. In the early 90s, she coached doubles player Gigi Fernandez to 11 Grand Slam titles and an Olympic gold medal. Today, as a practicing clinical and sports psychologist, Dr. Julie Anthony is proof that tennis and school can be a winning combination.
Dr. Julie Anthony, would you please come forward?
Oh my gosh, I didn't think I got anything. Thank you. Betsy, that was the longest, most embarrassing introduction I've ever had. And Millie, when you called, it wasn't my home, it was my office where all the dogs were, wherever you are. For most of my tennis career, I I was often mistaken for and confused for Julie Heldman because for fairly logical reasons, Julie and I were both named the same, had the same first name. We were both about the same size, dark-haired. We both did well in junior tennis. We both went on to play for Stanford, and then we played professionally. So it wasn't very uncommon for autograph seekers, fans, even reporters to get us mixed up. So when I visited the Hall of Fame today, it came to me as a bit of a relief to see that Julie had already been inducted and that some horrible mistake hadn't happened, and I got invited incorrectly. But having seen her up in the Hall of Fame, it then left me with the question that really is puzzling, which is why am I invited tonight? I think after hearing Betsy's introduction, the wrong person's getting inducted. But the main point is that I must admit, I have felt like an imposter, that to be receiving yet another award or gift from a game that has already given me so much seems unfair. And as I look around the room now and earlier today, I think the day has typified a lot of my experiences that I've had in tennis, and that there are so many people that have worked so hard behind the scenes that have allowed for opportunities for me, and particularly for the young women playing today, that I feel unfair in having the recognition that and not having it go to them. I think people like Mark McCormick and Billie Jean, who have been the visionaries and the movers and shakers of the world that really put tennis on the center stage, we owe so much to you and to those other visionaries. People like Pat Yeomans and Millie West, her lackeys, Shirley and Shirley and I forget who else, but so many. Ellen Perry, her husband, Marty and Pete are typical of the people that work hard to put on these events and give us a good time. So I certainly want to thank them. I want to thank William & Mary College, Betsy and Mark. The facility is spectacular. Thank you so much. I would like to thank my personal table of friends and supporters, particularly my father, who introduced me to tennis, and along with my mother, drove me to endless tournaments and sat endless hours in bleachers watching me play. I'd like to thank Annie Denver for coming with me here from Aspen. She wanted me to mention, though, that she has beaten me in bowling. And if I were to bring her name up, that she wanted that to be known. Joyce Semple, who came from Los Angeles, and she claims to have beaten me in golf, but I'm disputing that one. Judy Roman, Marilyn Lowy from Aspen. I'm so happy to be here with Janie. This is yet another one of the major gifts that tennis has brought to me, is not only a great partnership and rivalry with Janie when we were younger, but a lifelong friendship. I want to congratulate Pat Yeomans and Emily Foster for their induction, and thank you very much. I'm very honored.
Emily's career as a tennis player and coach has been well documented, but very few know that while she was playing top-level tennis as a junior, she was also playing volleyball and softball at the international level. And just for a few more kicks, she played AAU basketball. Emily was a coach's dream by any standard. It is no surprise that once she began concentrating solely on tennis, her rankings and the number of championships won soared. Emily's work ethic as a player was unparalleled, and it carried over into her coaching. She always gave more than 100%, and she expected that of her players as well. Many of your students and friends have written to us, Emily, and each has talked of the fun and the hard work and the many valuable lessons that they learned from you. They learned much more than tennis. They learned lifetime skills, and made friendships that are still strong today. Most importantly, they absorbed some of the characteristics that earned you the title True Grit.
With true Texas grit, Emily Burr Foster became the winningest collegiate champion ever. An all-star athlete, Foster took up tennis in high school, buying her first racket with S&H Greenstands. By her senior year, she was Texas state champion. Foster broke onto the national stage as well, ranking as high as #2 in junior doubles. In 1965, she and partner Wendy Overton were finalists at the Girls 18 Championships in Philadelphia. Foster was also Texas Player of the Year in 1965 and entered Lubbock Christian College that fall. She reached the semifinals in national collegiate doubles as a sophomore in 1967. 1968 was Emily's year. She transferred to Trinity University, won Player of the Year honors in the Junior Whiteman Cup, and swept the national collegiates. She never dropped a set in singles, won the doubles with teammate Becky Vest, and helped the Trinity Tiger team capture first place. The Tiger came roaring back in 1969, as Foster became the only collegiate player to win back-to-back singles and doubles titles. Pursuing a coaching career, Foster spent 8 years at Texas Tech before returning to her alma mater in 1978. In 1983, she was named ITA Division I Coach of the Year. In her 12 years at Trinity, Foster coached 12 All-Americans, including 1983 collegiate doubles champs Louise Allen and Gretchen Rush. Courageous, determined, and fiercely competitive, Emily Foster embodies the words, true grit.
Wow, that was great. Wow, I thought I had it all planned. I guess I transcended two worlds here because I was both a player and a coach. And I'd just like to convey, since I was a college coach at the Division I level, a story. And I know David will remember this. We were at a board of directors meeting. And there was a gentleman who was the coach at Clemson. His name was Andy Johnston. And Andy was a big prankster. And so he was making, disparaging remarks about members of the committee to their faces, obviously, in the meetings. And so we had this gentleman from Wilson Sporting Goods who came in and was presenting their new wide-body, big-headed racket. And so we had to listen to all of the presentations from all of the promoters. And after the gentleman left, I just made the comment that, oh yes, that was Andy Johnson, typified by big head, wide body. Well, as you know, tennis is a game of competition. And because of that competition, it is the one thread that ties everybody together. Well, I guess it was about 5 years later, Andy and I were doing a clinic for the NYSP program down in Tampa, Florida. And at this particular event, we had all of the kids in a gymnasium, and there were about maybe 300. And there were several coaches who were to assist in the clinic. And so Andy got up to introduce everybody and give the welcome, as he was the chair for that particular event. And so he asked, how many people in here clap if you came because your coach wanted you to come? Everybody clapped. Clap if your parents wanted you to come. Everybody clapped. Clap if you came because you heard Emily Foster was going to be here. Dead silence. So we're even. The collegiate tennis scene has changed over the years. When I played, as Julie and Janie can attest, it was a team format, but you gained individual points by playing just a simple 64 or 128 draw tournament. And the winner of the tournament, you got certain points for each round. And the team that accumulated the most points was the team champion. Well, Becky Vest and I were the two players from Trinity who played. And Becky got to the quarters, and I was fortunate enough to win the tournament, and so we won the team championship. So Trinity University, thinking, oh, we might have something here. Now, mind you, we had to pay our own ways to get to the tournament. They decided that they would fund the team, and so we had two more players were added to it. So we go to the tournament the next year, and the two players that they added to it didn't get us any points. So it was Becky and I once again. Now with the team format, every match you play is equally important. So every member of the team is as important as every other member of the team. And I think that's terrific, because the number 6 player is just as important as the number 1 player. And that typifies great team competition. The funny stories that were told earlier are all true. Unfortunately, I can't say they weren't. There are many more that will go unsaid. Now, those of you who are interested, Lisa Sassano Westergaard down here in the front is a former player at Trinity. And if you're interested, you can certainly go up to her and ask her about the Snickers incident. And she will be happy to tell you, I'm sure. With regard to this honor, I can't really express to you what it means. Being with Julie and Jane and with Pat, who really is responsible for women's collegiate tennis. She actually got the USLTA at that time to start this tournament. And it was held out in California and continued in California for several years. And then another lady, Helen Lewis, out of St. Louis, picked it up as well with Pat. And the two of them really were responsible for the National Collegiate Championships as they are today. Then it went from there, it went into National Girls and Women's Sports, the division of Health, Recreation, Alliance for Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. Then it went to the old AIAW, and then it was taken over by the NCAA. A great period of time was the marking of the advent of women into what was then the Intercollegiate Tennis Coaches Association, which is now the ITA. Well, that's a brief history, and enough of that. I am so pleased to be here, and this is just great. I can't thank you all enough. I thank all of my friends, my family for coming. It's been a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you. This is a little something that I brought along from San Antonio. This is the NCAA Coach of the Year trophy that was presented to me in Indianapolis, and it has Wilson Sporting Goods on it. And I would like to make this presentation to the Hall of Fame, to the ITA Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Described as unassuming as an apple blossom, wholesome as buttermilk, and uncomplicated as a straight line, Janie Albert was the darling of competitive tennis in the 60s, and at the time she was said to be the most exciting player since Maureen Conley. She and her father are the only father-daughter duo in any Hall of Fame in the world. Reared in a family accustomed to competition, Janie has carried that driving force beyond collegiate athletics. Her competitive spirit has taken Janie from Pebble Beach to Wimbledon, from tennis to motherhood. The official USLTA yearbook of 1966 quotes her style as a polished game with finished strokes, good match temperament. Janie has personified the elegance of tennis.
Like her father, fearless Frankie Albert of the San Francisco 49ers, Jane Albert Willens thrived on pressure. A rising star in Northern California, Albert swept the National Girls 15 Championships in 1961. 2 years later, she became the youngest player ever to win the California state title, defeating Mimi Arnold in singles and claiming the doubles and mixed doubles as well. Featured in Life magazine that summer, the irrepressible Albert was shown twisting with her father at their Pebble Beach home. She showed her steely side the next week at her first Wimbledon, losing a hard-fought match against Vera Sukova on center court. In 1964, as a freshman at Stanford, Albert again captured the California singles title and won the mixed doubles with Arthur Ashe, then at UCLA. And at the National Collegiate Championships, she beat top-seeded Julie Heldman, her Stanford teammate, to win the singles crown. In 1965, hampered by a back injury, Albert still reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon and Forest Hills. She played on the winning U.S. Whiteman Cup team the next year, pairing with Billie Jean King in doubles. In 1967, Albert once again took home National Collegiate honors, this time pairing with teammate Julie Anthony to win the doubles. Albert chose to retire from competitive tennis later that year. She went out in style by winning 2 gold medals at the Pan American Games. In 1976, Jane Albert Willens joined her father in Stanford's Athletic Hall of Fame, the first woman to be inducted. As fearless a competitor as Frankie, she inherited his champion's heart.
I was too embarrassed to bring my notes because you two didn't bring notes up, so thank you. But I do want to thank you for this wonderful, wonderful honor. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but I have to say that when I first started playing tennis, I think I was 10, which was over the hill now, but I couldn't imagine ever being in a Hall of Fame because I thought you either had to be dead or very, very old. So I'm glad I'm old, but I'm young enough to appreciate it. What's that? Oh, okay. But I do want to thank everyone involved, Millie West and her wonderful crew, Ellen and Tina, and all the hard work they put in, all the many hours. Last night's reception at Don and Susan Beck's house was beautiful. The luncheon today, the tours, it's all made us feel so welcome. And I want to congratulate my fellow inductees, Julie and Emily and Pat. It's well-deserved. Watching that video, I had 2 thoughts. One is, I had a very small racket and very big hair. So, that's changed. And the other thought was, how far women's tennis has come, and that's what's so heartening. When Julie and I played at Stanford in the olden days, there were no scholarships for women athletes. We were relegated to the courts in the boonies with wire nets, I think, so when you missed your second serve, it came rattling back at you. We had no uniforms, but boy, did we have fun. You know, tennis was only a spring sport, so we would party, or I would, and study for 2 quarters, and then we'd dust off our wood rackets and go out and kill each other in challenge matches. And but it was great. I think tennis is such an individual sport, or it's thought of that way, but I think that to be successful, you have to have so much guidance and help and support from so many people along the way. So I'd like to thank the ones who, this was such an introspective process doing this. Poor Millie, I drove Millie crazy because procrastinating with sending my stuff in, but in the meantime, it really gets you thinking about all the people that you owe so much to. And I'd have to start with my coach, John Gardner, who, as you know, passed away last year, sadly. But he was a guru of tennis who fought for all white till the bitter end. And I still have his words ringing in my ear, you know, Janie, take the ball on the rise and get to the net. But I'm wondering these days, when I see these 100-mile-an-hour passing shots, I don't think that would have flown very far.
My coach, Curly Neal, who was the ultimate optimist. Frank Brennan, I want to thank, and that I was born too soon for Frank's tutelage, but he, as you heard tonight, has got to be the most winningest and best, in my opinion, women's coach in college tennis, and I have a personal thanks to him for lighting a fire in my daughter Heather in the early 90s. So thanks, Frank. Julie Anthony for letting me play the backhand side. I had no cross-court forehand whatsoever, and for keeping me on my toes then and now. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to thank Betsy and Mark for the wonderful. I mean, all this wouldn't have been possible in the tennis center, and you know, you're doing so much for college tennis, women's college tennis. Thank you. And I guess no thank you is complete without thanking your mother. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but I just remember all the endless hours she schlepped me to junior tournaments, and all the advice, which I can't say I won many matches with, because it was, honey, when you go out there now, smile at the ball boys, because they work so hard, and you know, can't you give your opponent a few games, you know? But and lastly, and I'm probably going to cry, but that's okay. I would like to dedicate this award to my dad, because